What started out as a simple idea would turn out to be one of my most treasured experiences in Minecraft that I still wish I could go back to this day. Like many of you who play Minecraft multiplayer, the biggest problem you could ever face is none other than griefers. To those of you who are not familiar with the term, the word griefing in Minecraft is a term that basically means to destroy other people's homes for the fun of it, or destroy other people's creations in general, and it is synonymous to the word trolling. Before I started working on this particular base, I recently had a base with people who I met in this ReconCraft server. It went good for a while until it was blown up to bits. So I decided, hey, why not go build a base in the middle of the ocean all by myself where other players would have trouble finding, and so I did. Though it's not the most merry situation in the world, living in solitude like this, no man is an island is a figure of speech that I would challenge myself, testing how long I would last in this sorry island of a base. So before ReconCraft, it started out as just me and my friend Norman who I met on another server. It was called Hero Realms. Now, I accurately remember playing with Norman in Hero Realms because of this post that I made in 2013 in the Facebook group that me and my high school friends created. And according to the said Facebook post, it's basically me saying that I attended a wedding in Hero Realms. Yeah, a 13-year-old kid hosted a wedding as a priest or a sub-priest, whatever the hell that is. That was me, the red-hooded guy, which was... Jesus Christ, these were very weird times, what the fuck. Anyway, so after we got bored in Hero Realms, me and Norman migrated to ReconCraft. While we were exploring the wild of ReconCraft, we came across a very beautiful fortress, as you can see here. This was Factions, by the way, and this was a point in Minecraft history where nobody practically knew how to play Factions yet. The bases did not look like obsidian boxes covered in water or lava, and instead they built actual castles as bases. Do note that every structure you see here are faithfully recreated by me, making it look as close to the original as possible. These were based on the screenshots that I took roughly 9 years ago, and here is the comparison between the screenshot that I took 9 years ago and the one I recreated in the present, which is 2022. Now, apparently, this fortress was already owned by someone named Rob with a bunch of numbers on it, and he did not have a faction at the time, so me and Norman decided to recruit him to the faction, which we then called as the Stormcloaks faction. The faction was composed of me, Norman, Rob, my high school friend Mugen63, and some black guy. We spoke on Skype and we had so much fun together. We recruited Rob right after we killed him a few times for trying to defend his property. Now, apparently, Rob was a Minecraft genius. The whole base was filled with redstone contraptions, as you can see in the screenshot, and unfortunately, I am a caveman when it comes to redstone, so I'm not even going to bother recreating them myself, but basically, the entrance used to be a redstone contraption in of itself, which if you pull a lever inside just like this fence gate would just open up. It was astounding. And when the entrance opens, there used to be a pressure plate in the hallway in the entrance right here, where if you step on the said pressure plate, there is going to be a pitfall with lava, which if you don't get the picture, you fall and die. He also built this fortress all by himself with no cheats whatsoever, and on top of that, this whole base is only literally the surface, as the whole base was underground all the way down to bedrock. If we will take a reading at the documentary evidence taken in 2013, my high school friend asked me, "Where is your grand castle, bro?" To which I replied, "This is what's left on the outside and the rest is underground." So there was literally a whole castle that was hand-built by Rob all by himself underground all the way down to bedrock, and I wish I took a screenshot, but unfortunately such memory is destined to fade away. The features of this base is just the usual Minecraft dump, and here you see the rules. There is likewise an enchanting room and so on, but the most iconic thing about this base is that there's an actual tombstone. I remember what happened here very clearly, and the story behind this was that Norman was so emotionally invested with his cows that when I accidentally killed them, he opted to kick me out of the faction. Yeah, me, the leader. So to troll him even more, I made a tombstone that says RIP Norman's cow and underground is an actual coffin with 2 stakes, and he got so pissed. Now, this story is more of a trip down amnesia lane rather than memory lane, because all I know is that it was going so good and so fun until we woke up one morning and the whole base was blown up to bits, like I said. That was the last time I would ever hear about the genius Rob and the black guy. It's really funny how we establish meaningful bonds and great friendships with kind people like Rob, but we get so complacent and we let the friendship slip through our fingers, confident that we will meet them again someday, but we all know that's never going to happen. Right now, Rob is out there and I will never meet him again, but I still remember the laughs like we had it yesterday. A few days after the incident, I spoke with Norman and his friends in real life, including a person named Brian Suwato, and they basically decided to migrate to another server after the incident. Mugen63, my high school friend, decided to play single player, and the rest of the members of the faction were unheard of. Out of all of Norman's friends, I remember only Brian Suwato because he was a bit of a cookie-cutter character, and that he was also a racist. Remember when I told you that our faction was called the Stormcloaks? Well, Brian Suwato told me one time that we should stop calling the faction Stormcloaks because in real life, Norman was short and that Norman was not white. If you don't know who the Stormcloaks are, they are basically a political force in a game called Skyrim with the nationalist agenda that the fictional land Skyrim belongs to the Nords and only to the Nords. Yes, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people, Nords.
You come here where you're not wanted. You eat our food, you pollute our city with your stink, and you refuse to help the Stormcloaks. You a dark elf lover? Get out of our city, you filthy piece of trash. Which,
at the time, my 13-year-old chimp brain did not realize the gravity of the political agenda of the Stormcloaks and named the faction after it only because of its cool-sounding name. So, anyway, all that was left from the faction in Reconcraft was me, leading to this base right here, and in here it was all just a matter of boredom. I had a decent wheat farm and a relatively nice house, and I had the abundance of ocean surrounding my base, so in other words, not only did I have infinite supply for food, I was also relatively protected by the geographic location. Everything was set out for me to live, but it was boring, so to pass my time, I developed the habit of collecting other plants, and oftentimes I would set sail to find land near my base to collect not only the trees that I need to use to expand my base, but also the seeds for the plants that I want to grow, and in the jungle biome, I found watermelons. It's hard to find pumpkin seeds, so I bought them at Warp Shop for a very cheap price, and slowly but surely, block by block, I expanded my base.
Weep for yourself, my man, you'll never be what is in your heart. Weep, little lion, man, you're not as brave as you were at the start. Rate yourself and rate yourself, take all the courage you have left. Waste it on fixing all the problems that you made in your own head. But it was not your fault but mine, and it was your heart on the line. I really fucked it up this time, didn't I, my dear? Didn't I, my
Reconcraft being one of the biggest faction server at the time, it was a tradition for players to kill each other and destroy each other's homes. We started calling ourselves the Pirates because not only did it fit the culture of savagery which defined Reconcraft, but like pirates, our home was likewise located at the high seas. And also, we were not racist, so we had to change our name. Fuck the Stormcloaks. The most memorable raid that we ever did was the one where we raided an unclaimed hacker's base, to which when the hacker was offline, we pillaged full chests of OP apples. Because of that raid, we got filthy rich by selling these golden apples, and even then, we still had a lot to dispose of. We did not have to travel to land anymore to get the resources, and instead we just bought the blocks that we need to build at the shop. And of course, there was the raid where you saw the reenactment earlier, with which I even took a screenshot and posted it on Facebook roughly 9 years ago. But we were more than just a bunch of rascals of the sea. Even though we had our fair share of raids, we just spent most of our time building because we loved our home. I have finally convinced Mugen63 to join my faction again after I showed him the base. So basically, Rob finally had a replacement because Mugen, during his lifetime playing single player, he basically acquired a plethora of knowledge when it comes to redstone. Mugen's first structure was a lookout tower because he thought not only would it be a useful addition for archery and for spotting potential raiders, it would likewise add to the aesthetics of the base. One of the limitations of this base was that it would be difficult to find ores without going through the hassle of sailing to the nearest land and finding a mining site. So me and Mugen decided to construct a manual elevator that leads underground so that we could establish our own mining site, which is near the base. When you first reach the bottom of this elevator, you would be greeted with a piston door which Mugen created, and upon passing the piston door, this would be the main hall where you would be greeted by the faction rules and of course the plaque showing the owner and co-owner of the base, which is me and Mugen, as well as the members and their ranks. To the left of the main hall was an automatic shower that Mugen created just for fun, and right next to it was an enchanting room. So I don't know why we did this, and imagine someone reading books while you're taking a shower. What the fuck? To the right of the main hall would be the anvil room as well as the brewing room. This is where we would keep the potions that were useful for battle, and this is where we would repair our weapons and armor. Past the main hall to the right was the armory. This is where we would store the god apples, the god armor, the god weapons, as well as the god tools, as well as loot from battles. And to the opposite end of the armory was the fridge, where we would keep our food, and finally here is the strip mine. Because of the functionality of the house, it being a necessary passage to the strip mine as well as the armory, we decided to call it the main hall, and I would construct my own house at the opposite end of the base. Mugen decided to build his own house adjacent to the main hall, and this house was owned by an Eastern European who I met in the Warlord server in Counter-Strike Source. My cousin, Torera214, who came with us during the raid, would also build a house adjacent to mine. He loved Spider-Man, so he made it the theme of his house. In other words, he made a house with a spider-looking front portion. Norman would also reunite with us, and this time he would bring along his partner in crime, also known as his girlfriend, making them the pirates' own little Bonnie and Clyde. To which at one point I even caught them doing the dirty sloppy one night, and I immediately posted it on Facebook. What the fuck? And at the opposite end of Norman's home would be an apartment for the new members of the faction, and as a finishing touch, I built a giant creeper which turned into a mob grinder.
Destinations will accept the one that's me, so I can
And who's that? Who owns that house? Of course, the one making the video. Yep, if you want to join you guys, this server in my faction, click subscribe, and you're not only gonna join my faction and your awesome leader, you can also get some of this. Want some of this? Just kidding, guys. So yeah, if you really liked the video, if you enjoyed, click subscribe, and I'll love you forever. Goodbye.
The footage you are seeing right now is a tutorial about Optifine which I made in the 10th of April 2013. So at the time I was playing in this server, which was roughly 10 years ago, I was only 12, 13 until 14 years old. The reason as to why you saw this footage is, aside from the fact that it serves as evidence that this story did in fact exist, it is also to give context as to how old I am and how immature I think at the time. The funny thing about times like these is that I still remember these times like it was yesterday. Upon coming up with the idea of making this video, I only kept thinking that I lived these memories and I want to recollect and make a tribute to these very nostalgic times. I can still remember these times like it happened only the day before I sat down and started to speak to you, my current audience. Of course, this is in fact still me. It is roughly the same foundation, the same old husk and the same old skull, and the rest the same old set of clunky bones, but it was like I was a completely different person. My voice was different, the language I used was different, my manners were different, the way I move, interact, and think was different, the way I look is different, my beliefs were night and day. My point is, all these years, from the time I started becoming an atheist, to the time I met my girlfriend, who I believe I will marry after we both graduate and become lawyers, to the time I graduated college, to the time I did enroll in law school, from a prepubescent kid to a fully grown, becoming a lawyer adult, I was still stuck in time, and I find myself still longing for that same feeling that I had when I played Minecraft like I used to worship God. I realized I don't want to play Minecraft anymore. I thought I wanted to play Minecraft, but I would always launch Minecraft, but I wouldn't last 5 minutes inside the game. It's not the game that I want to play, but we want to feel the same feeling brought upon by discovery, exploration, and accomplishment, and ultimately the rush you feel when you connect with other people. You want to feel that surge of dopamine when you build not just empires, but more importantly, everlasting friendships. Or so you thought. Many YouTubers today are wondering why video games are not fun anymore, and here is the obvious answer. We have changed. Mugen, my longtime friend, co-owner and talented builder of the Pirates, is now a licensed naval architect. In other words, he went from designing the floating fortress of the Pirates to actual floating fortresses in real life, as well as ships, boats, and other sea vessels of the like. I have never heard from or anything about the Eastern European guy, SL, but I hope things are working out for him. In the near future, sometime in the next couple of years, I will take the bar exam and become a lawyer. My cousin, Torera214, is busy in college, is a part-time model, and a part-time investor. Who knows, maybe he would play Peter Parker in the near future. The last time I spoke with Norman, he told me that he dreamt of being a filmmaker. I pray that such a statement becomes more than just a dream, and also I hope it is more than just about cow porn. And also he became a traitor and blew up the base, but that's all water under the bridge. I have never heard from or anything about the rest of the members of the faction who went and go, and to me they became zombies as I remember nothing about them, not even the slightest of details, but I can still hear them being baffled, thinking that their Minecraft is broken because underneath their apartment was not the Earth's mantle but ocean. They were ecstatic when they finally realized that they are in fact in the middle of the ocean. By rephrasing Stephen King, I have reflected on the coming of events and has concluded a realization. Although these events happened not more than even a decade ago, I know I will miss it forever. Except for my girlfriend, I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 13. But the real question is, does anyone?